All right, Htp family. You're tuning into the pro-black perspective on KWAZ radio. And today you have a special treat today. We're gonna do Reading the Book of Power, episode 16. Agitation is a good thing, organization is better. And this is gonna be John Edward Bruce. For those of you who do not know John Edward Bruce, this is one of the best Africans of America, of the United States. All right, so he wrote this in 1889, right? And he was definitely one of the foremost black nationalists. Very poignant. In fact, he actually gave the best critique of Garvey, right? Essentially, if you want to understand what was Garvey's issue, if there is any issue, I mean, there were issues, but his biggest issue was that he talked too much. And so John Edward Bruce said, yeah, this guy, like John Edward Bruce was like, yeah, this guy's, like, if you want to, oh, man. So John Edward Bruce actually gives the best praise of Garvey as well. I mean, if you can get your hands on that book, then get that book. This book that we're talking about, John Edward Bruce, like Militant Black Journalist or something like that, that book was the book that when I picked it out of the library and I returned it, it got lost. You know what I mean? Eventually, I was able to secure a copy, but notwithstanding that, it was a long process. This is one of the best books if you're looking for like what was the African nationalism of the 19th century, right? What was the African nationalism before Garvey came? So if just a little backstory too, John Edward Bruce, I think I actually talk about it later in the book, but John Edward Bruce, what he does is he sees Garvey and he's just like, you know, at first when Garvey comes, he's like, nah, I'm not, like the guy's just talking stuff. It don't make no sense, right? And eventually though, he's like, yeah, this is actually, let's put ourselves behind this to end. But again, what leads to, you know, what leads to Garvey's downfall is the fact that Garvey kind of talks too much, you know? So there's like a balance, and it's really hard to tell what that balance is. And maybe there isn't a balance, who knows? But if you talk too much versus talking too little, you know, how can you have a mass movement? That's the big underlying question. But you know, John Edward Bruce right here, 1889. This is before he met Garvey and all that. He says, you know, agitation is a good thing, organization is a better thing. So let's see what this is about. So I said Baba wrote this in 1889. By the way, if you're listening live, or even if you're listening in the future, whatever, smash that like button. You know, let people know that you like this. But all right, Baba wrote this 1889 WP. He was a foremost black nationalist and very poignant. I respect him for his merits, his method of underground organizing. See the loyal Sons of the Sons of Africa. The Loyal Order of the Sons of Africa mirrors my thinking for organizing in the West. So if you're going to be in the West, I think organizing should be along the lines of underground organizing. You know, that is, you're not necessarily out front with your organization. You know, you have your members, but only, it's like a secret society, secret order. Those are the ways that people usually tend to organize in the West, with the exception of obviously corporations, which are, you know, public. But even then, it's a little bit more like you could have your own private meetings, notwithstanding the what's the public face, you know. So you want to have a private, you know, meeting. And of course, you know, there's ways to do private meetings, you know. A good brother, African Diary, I think, he was telling me that he was saying in one of his YouTube things, he was saying there's some forests. He was riding his bike by some forest, and he's like, this is the forest that the Kenyan liberationists were meeting in, you know. If I'm not mistaken, that's the Mau Mau. So he's like, this is where the Mau Mau were meeting, you know. They were just meeting in these forests. And it's the same thing when it comes to Haiti. The big ceremony that we celebrate Bookman and Fatima from, I think it's Boys Caveman or something, right? But that ceremony, that happens in the forest. Like sometimes you just meet up secretly. You know, you don't have to, you know, hey, everybody, you know, like if you're on a plantation, like Nat Turner. When Nat Turner came in, he was meeting with people. It was a nice secret meeting, you know? You don't just, hey, everybody, you know, hey, we're gonna organize and kill, you know, like everybody knows. No, you don't. You just pick out your handful of people and you guys decide what to do. And remember that too. Organizing is first and foremost about what to do. And I want to say this. I hope hopefully this is going to be emphasized in this book. I mean this in this chapter, but it's not about just organizing agitation, you know? Agitation is a good thing. Organization is better. So, organization, what that means, we should probably try to explore that. If we don't explore it, that's fine. Or if it's not in this, it's probably in the book, or I'll just articulate it myself, right? But let's keep going. Eurasians propaganda deceived many Africans into insisting on American status and citizenship. So he's like, this my thinking, but most of us kind of want American status and citizenship, which makes sense, right? On Cobia, though, however, this is for you, right? You can't be African and a non-African national. This is, you know, and this is the tough stance I got to take with people, you know? And this is the thing that it's like we get offended. You know, there was this, some people are saying, hey, you know, the people in the West, they're not Africans. And it's like, look, racially, yes, you're African, right? But if you're talking about being like really organizing for our people, then you want your nationality to be continental. Or if not continental, be within the range of an African nationality. So, you know, like Jamaica, IT, you know, Trinidad, let's say, right? You know, the Caribbean islands, those would be African nationalities as well. You know, it's this America, it's this Britain, it's this, you know, and these are the leading Pan-Africanists, mind you. And I want to say this, I was planning on saying this, you know, I was planning on putting this on my Twitter. So if you guys don't know my Twitter handle, just look it up at Onitaset, right? Onitaset. But I'm planning on putting out that, you know, the reality is that, the reality, right? But the reality is that a lot of Africans, a lot of the Pan-Africanists are idealists, and I'm just being a realist. You understand? A lot of Pan-Africans are idealists, and I'm being a realist, and that's where everything is good. So I say, look, you can't be African national, like, and you shouldn't mix African nationalism with non-African nationalities. So you shouldn't mix African nationalism. If you want to be about African nationalism, don't do it in a non-African, with a non-African nationality. You know? That's why I said, you know, some people are like, hey, man, why don't you do something in America? And it's like, no, because that doesn't make any sense. Because it's like, a fight is good, but to what end? Like, what can you get in America except for American status and American citizenship? And I already got that. What am I fighting these people for? You gonna fight them to end the nation of America? How likely is that? It's about realism versus idealism. Sure, you can fight that, but it's when you're surrounded by 200 million of them and you're 40 million and you have no international backup, right? And they have tons of international backup. You understand? So what? Like, what is going through your brain? Is the big question. What? All right. A fight is good, but to what end? In America, the hybrids are the majority. So that right there, I just say that the hybrids are the majority. Make war for land, if not your way, but acquiring the land of the largest white nation or imposing your way on them is possible, but improbable. You understand what I'm saying to you? You make war for land, if not your way. So it's like look. If I'm going to gun somebody down, right? It's got to be for a reason. It's got to be, like, it's not just to gun them down. Let's be honest. If I'm going to gun somebody down, it's going to be for a reason. And the two good reasons are the land, you know, that could mean resource. I mean, you know, if it's just an individual, it could mean the resources, it could mean the whatever, right? Or it's your way, you know, showing out like we have an ancestral African way, right? And it would be good to have our way done, right? So, but if you're just gonna gun them down, and notwithstanding the fact that this is the largest white nation on the planet, right? And that they're not going to adopt your way anyway. And half of you have their way. So it doesn't make no sense. You're gonna be like, hey, well, what I want is I want you to have a democracy. You know, he's like, I already got a democracy. You know, like you gonna try to put his way. It don't make no sense. I'm like, and you know, this is just exposition, so we don't have to diddle daddle on it, right? But your way is possible but improbable, right? So it's possible you can fight him, but it's possible, but it's improbable, right? So I'm saying it'd be wisest to move, right? You know, I kind of like, I kind of, you know, I sympathize with the quote unquote African American. So I do sometimes, you know, specifically mention, yeah, you know, but it's not just America. It's obviously all the Africans in the West. It's wisest to just move. Second wisest is to war for war's sake. You know, so I'm not going to say don't war, but it would be better to move. If you're going to stay, then sure, go war for war's sake. You know, have at it. That ain't me. You know what I'm saying? That's not me. I'm not going war for war's sake. If I'm going to war, it's about land. It's about our way. You know, about restoring our belief systems. You get what I'm saying? It's about restoring our land. That's what it's about. It's not about, oh, I just want to fight these crackers. You know, oh, I want to get revenge. Yeah, look, I mean, look, revenge is not bad, I guess. Okay? But you know, that's up to you whether you want to gun somebody down or be gunned down for revenge. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying revenge is bad. I'm just saying it's up to you, your individual life. If you saying, look, this is what I want, then here's what I would say. Look, if you're really about that revenge life, then just go do it. You don't got to plan about that. I mean, you could, unless you organize it for it, but of course you're not organizing for it. But shit, you know what I'm saying? But like, that's not about me. That's not my life. That's all I would say. But let's go. Baba thought better than most of his contemporaries, but this is why Boko Waset Nakiru was the best thinking. You will be an African national when an African nation is built. So that's really the critical thing to it. It's not just about, because see, it's easy to say, you know what, just be an African national, right? But then what if you don't have an African nation? It's like I was telling you about earlier. So there's this conversation going on Twitter where, oh yeah, here's what it was. It was some, actually, I don't need the context. Basically, long story short, here's the context. Somebody said they want a Crazy Rich African movie, right? And then somebody else said, oh, that's what Eddie Murphy's Coming to America was. And they were like, no, not African American, African, right? Or not black or whatever. I don't know what it was. They were like, oh, but we're African. And blah, blah. They had a little debate, right? And of course, this lady probably from Nigeria or something. And she's like, this not. But the thing is this. It's like, you know, I'm having these conversations with people, you know, in Nigeria and all that kind of stuff. It's like Nigeria, to some extent, I mean, it's a black majority population, right? But is it still a colony is the question. Or does it still follow the colonial practices of yesteryear is the question. You know? Like, what constitutes an African nation? Right? Is the government being run by people who are about Africa, or is it run by people who are about Arab or England? You know? About Arabia or England? Those are the questions. Because if you have a space that is being run by people who have Eurasian interests, would you call that an African nation? And would you call the people there African nationals? If their whole operation is going along with the foreign Eurasian interests. You understand that this is the things we have to ask ourselves. And so then we come to the question of, well, what is an African nation, or where are the African nations? And the question is answered by exactly what you have to figure out. You know, Marcus Garvey said, you know, I looked around, I ain't see no presidents, I ain't see no emperors, I ain't see no, lords of industry, whatever. I ain't see none of that. So I said, let me go build it. That's what you are listening to this podcast for. Because you say to yourself, let me go and build this. All right? And how do we go about with building this? And like I said, you know, you can have the secret orders, okay? You can have the organizing orders among us. But the point is that you have to get out, go and build this thing. All right? So anyway, that was the exposition. We got some people in the chat. We have Revolutionary Matron. Says, greetings, people are either African or assimilationist. That's it, right? I'm a bookman. Says, has a laugh face. Melanin 100%. says, listening, Grand Rising brother. They love the white man over there and Asians run over there. Yeah, exactly. Like we have to understand, right? We have to understand that these people, I mean, that everybody, we have to understand that if we are not being run by our way, if we're not being run by our way, we're being run by someone else's. And that's a problem. And it's a problem that only we, those of us who are in the know, can solve. This is why we are so necessary as African people. But let's keep going. So we're going to go into John Red Bruce's words, and I'm just going to jump into it. I told you guys who John Red Bruce is, and, you know, if you missed it, you know, whatever. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you tell people what's going on, because it's happening, right? All right, let's go. I fully realize the delicacy of the position I occupy in this discussion, and I know too well that those who are to follow me will largely benefit by what I shall have to say in respect to the application of force as one of the means to the solution of the problem known as the African problem. Listen to this right here. So this brother's in 1889 talking about, you know what, we might have to apply force to solve the problem of the African, to solve the problem known as the African problem. This was a man. This was, the title we gave him was the militant journalist, the militant black nationalist journalist. This was a man. He was like, yeah, we might have to have the application of force. No doubt. He's like, I'm not unmindful of the fact that there are those living who have faith in the efficacy of submission, who are still pregnated with the slavish fear which had its origins in oppression and the peculiar environment of the enslavement period. Okay, those who are thus minded will advise a pacific policy in order, as they believe, to effect the settlement of this question with which the statesmanship of a century has grappled without any particular gratifying results. He's saying, look, listen to that right there. He's like, there are the peace-minded people among us, right? And that peace mind was beaten into us during our enslavement period. And we are waiting for a settlement, right? That even the government itself can't solve. And the reality is this: that as 100 years later, we're still in the same we're in the worst predicament. The government is more baffled. The government is no longer even trying to solve it. You understand that you are a large part of us, 50% of us, are in the ghetto, and the ghetto are just death camps at this point. They're just death camps. You understand? They're just death camps. And some of us get out of the death camps and we're like, oh, it's pretty comfortable out here. But we ain't got nothing. What do we have? We have comfort. That's it. But we still working. You know? And yeah, we might have some good positions, but that's until as they last. Soon. It's like cause me, I'm not even too upset about this technological age. I'm not gonna front. I'm not gonna trip. I'm not gonna hold y'all. You know, I had somebody. I was in a restaurant. Somebody handling my money. Then they gonna make my food. Like, how you gonna handle my money and make my food? I wouldn't mind just paying the machine to make the food. And the thing, I wouldn't mind. But that might be the case. That's what's going to happen. But the thing is this: that the people that was handling my money and making my food, what complexion were they? You understand? And the thing is this: it's not just black people that's going to be they're going to be laid off, but everybody and their mama know that the first fired and the last hired are black folk. You understand? So as the economy becomes more and more advanced in the West, right? They're going to slowly take you out. And the thing is this: even if you were in Africa and the economy was getting more and more advanced, you know who's going to be the last hired? Not you. It's going to be the white boys, the foreigners, if they hired at all. You understand? Because, see, you are hired on a if they hired at all basis. You understand? You are fired on if we firing at all basis. And the thing is that it's going to be the opposite when you come to your own nationhood. But the reality is that as long as you are here, yeah, you might be comfortable for a minute, right? But look at your bank statement. and tell me, aren't you 3 paychecks away from homelessness? Okay. So what happens when you laid off? You understand? Let's keep going. A lot of black folk be cycling through homelessness, and y'all don't even, y'all sleeping on that. Revolutionary Major says we have nothing and we marry them, so the resources we gain go right back to them, and that's facts. And the thing is this too. When you say, hey, well, it's easy, just not marry them, right? Check this out. They are the majority. The thing is this, right? 50% of you, right, are going to be stuck in the ghetto, okay? 50% of you are going to be free to move around, right? Now, if they outnumber you 5-1, right, then the 50% of you that are moving around are going to now move around white folk 10-1. And so now you might be able to commingle among yourselves, but I should actually admit too, a lot of times you're going to find a lot of people who make it out don't have no kids, or don't have no marriages, or don't have no relationships or whatever. And then when they do, because they're 10-1 outnumbered, a lot of times they're going for white folk. Because they're 10-1 outnumbered. You understand? And not just that, they are the select few that make it out. When you're the select few that make it out, you cannot really find your own people around you. This is real life. I was talking about reality versus ideality. This is real life. When you are in a real life situation, now check this out. If you were in Africa, right, and you would have, and let's say if there was the same arrangement, 50% in the hood, 50% make it out. Now you wouldn't have that because you'd have a good government, but still, 50% in the hood, 50% make it out, right? If you had the same arrangement, now that 50% makes it out into, but they're the majority. They don't make it out into a 10-1 pool. They make it out into a 1-1 pool. You understand? Or whatever, how else you want to put the ratio, but the point, 101. Basically, we make it out to the same pool. You get out, you make it out, all right, like let's say it this way. Let's say there are commoners and there are elites, right? Let's say it this way, right? So the elites don't get to stay in the hood, because why would you stay in the hood, right? You get out and you make it out, and then when you get out of the, you go into the elite pool, right? And the elite pool is going to be 10-1 whites to blacks, right? In a Eurasian nation. Now, let's say you go back to Africa. You make it out of the commoner, pool, and you make it into the elite pool, okay? Now, all the other elites look like you. So now, it's easy to get that relationship. You following? But anyway, y'all don't want reality. Y'all want ideality, and that's the issue, Or some people want ideality. I bring reality. That's it. Let's go. Agitation is a good thing. Organization is a better thing. That's the title, right? The millions of African voters of Georgia and the undiscovered millions in other southern states, undiscovered as far as our knowledge of their numbers exists, could, with proper organization and intelligent leadership, meet force with most beneficial results. So he's like this. Look. He's like, all these voters that we had, if we had proper organization and intelligent leadership, we could actually fight these white boys. And of course, this was 100 years ago, so it was possibly the case. This was right after the Civil War. Right after the Civil War, black folk could have stood toe-to-toe with white folk. You understand? If not toe-to-toe, they could have seriously intimidated white folk. Because one thing you got to know about white folk is that they do not want to die. Okay? One thing about black folk is that, we don't really mind it. You know what I mean? Like death ain't the end for black folk. For white folk, it's like, oh gosh, I don't want to die. I want to. So if you stand up to like white folk would be the first to run in a fight. You know what I'm saying? They'd be the first. Black folk not so much. But that's just how we are. We're just built different, right? He's like, yeah, back then, and this is back then. Unfortunately, you kind of, it's not to say you can't, but these white boys are so on top of you now. See, white people got intelligent leadership and proper organization too. You understand? White people got intelligent leadership and proper organization too. When Garvey came in, they weren't even worried about him. But then Hoover was like, no, 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 no. We got to worry about these, right? We got to worry about them, right? When the Black Panther Party came out, they were like, oh, we ain't even worried about them so much. Then they were like, oh no, we got to worry about them. Hoover was like, no, let's get worried about them. The point is that they didn't know that black folk could threaten them. They too used to you shucking and jiving. But this is not to say, and this is something that you have to understand too, that this proper organization and intelligent leadership can meet force with force anywhere on the planet. The only difference is, are you going to fight the largest white nation, or are you going to fight a small black nation? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to try to take control of the largest white nation on the planet, or are you going to try to get into the leadership? Are you trying to get into the leadership of the largest white nation on the planet, or are you going to try to get in the leadership of some small nations in Africa? That's the question. Because if you feel like you can do the largest white nation on the planet, then surely you could go do the small nations in Africa. Like if you're just looking for comfort, and I mean, you don't have to be exploitative, but if you're just looking for comfort, why not go into a small African nation, fix up that economy, and then really have something to say about yourself? You find a nice Pan-African space, because this is what Nzinga did. We study Nzinga, we just like, what is blah, blah, blah. And Nzinga was like, look, we're going to have a nice little place over here on the continent. We're going to unite Angola, right? We're going to unite the people of Africa here under a singular government so that we can actually combat and keep these Eurasians out of our place. And it lasted until she passed. You understand? But it could have lasted longer if we continue that tradition of intelligent leadership. And the reality is this, that if you want to continue a tradition of intelligent leadership, all you have to do is develop the education and the organization for that. When we talk about Hannibal, right? When we talk about Hannibal, we have to realize that Hannibal descends from a line of generals, that they passed down secret texts amongst themselves, said, hey, read this book. Not necessarily going to be the book of power, because that wasn't written yet, but it might be the book of Carthaginian warfare or something, right? And they passed down this book, and they passed down these strategies, and they groomed Carthage to be one of the greatest generals of all time on the planet Earth. You understand? Among the human species. So if that's the case, I mean, and I'm not to say that Nzinga was neglecting on her duties. Nzinga kind of lived a long time. I don't know, but the reality is that if you could pass, and the thing is this too, the fact that you know how to write, literacy, that kind of avenue, right? You have an advantage in the education of our people. You understand? You have an advantage in the continuation of our organizations. Because again, Nzinga held these people back. You understand? And of course, in another part of the book, I talk about IT, right? IT has, after they killed Dessalines, I think Africa's divided into, Haiti is divided into two portions. You have Pétion and you have Christophe, okay? I believe that's the case. I don't remember. But the point is this, that Christophe, if you go to the different parts, they're both the same people. They have the same population, okay? Just different areas, right? Christophe's IT is well-to-do, right? He's trying to do it's a little bit like people would say it's a little dictatorship. I don't know, but it's well-to-do in the sense that people are comfortable, the people are living good, blah, 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 right? And then Pétion, who's more mulatto, he's more emulated. Anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. It's hard to memorize all this stuff, but Christophe, who's all and Pétion is all like whitewash. He's just into that European life. He's trying to do the Westerns, whatever. His thing is going sour. People are suffering. People are starving. The difference of leadership is so important. And then here's what happens more. The same Pétion says, okay, well, the French, France, come help us or whatever. France, I don't know what happens. But I think France might be comebacks and they're like, oh, we demand reparations or whatever. And Pétion's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But the point is that this is the difference between leadership. This is the difference. And of course, these people, I would say Pétion, he kills Dessalines. It's not necessarily official, but the point is that these mulattoes, whatever, they kill Dessalines. And Dessalines would have held these French back. The French move in after Dessalines is dead. The same way how the Portuguese move in after Nzinga's dead. One of the first articles I wrote was about brother Leonard Jeffries. Leonard Jeffries, right? He was saying, it was based off of something he said. He said, we lose at the negotiation table. It's not just that we lose at the negotiation table, but we also lose on the time scale. A lot of times these white folk will say, you know what, we can't beat them from this leader, but we can beat them from the next leader. You understand? And actually, this is a really common thing, and it's not just to do with black folk. Because I was saying, I one time tried to watch. I one time watched that movie, Hamilton. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But I want to say this. This is one part where George Washington becomes the president of America, right? And then after him is like some dude. Nobody even knows who he is. Whatever, right? And they show the King of England saying, that's the guy they choose to replace? No, first they were like, how in the world did George Washington step down? Why would he step down? He has power. Why would you step down? Nobody steps down when they have power, right? Because that was like the thing during the time, right? But then he was like, wait a second, they replaced him with that guy? That guy ain't shit. You understand? Like that guy's not like George Washington was a man, right? And, as far as white folk is concerned. And this other guy's like a boy, just, whatever. So, and if I recall correctly, the UK does invade America again after it's what was it? After it's free. Like it does, because it's like, look, it's the leadership that makes the difference. Someone was asking about Nigeria. It's the leadership that makes the difference. When your leadership isn't good, that's why you have to go about building a leadership academy or building a leadership institutions. That's the Boko Waset Nakeru. But it's like, there's this brother, Usman Toure, I think, right? Nice young brother, very well spoken. And the thing is that when you listen to him, you say to yourself, he tells you, oh yeah, Patrice, PLO Lumumba pulled me to the side and groomed me a little bit. You understand? Like he put me in a class or something. The point is that Usman Toure probably wouldn't have been too spectacular if not for PLO Lumumba. He's good leadership material now, as far as I could tell. I mean, I don't really listen to too much, but, so don't quote me on that. But what I'm saying is that he sound like good leadership material because PLO Lumumba pulled him to the side. So the question is, who are you pulling to the side? Who are you engaging in and putting into these institutions to be the leadership of Africa? Who are you going to run against? The politicians of Africa today, the presidents, the Eurasian presidents. Because the thing is that a lot of these presidents were pulled aside by Eurasians. A lot of them. A lot of African people are pulled to the side by Eurasians. There's a sister on Twitter. She sounds like she cool, right? She sounds like she cool, but she's like, oh, I graduated from the Chinese university, right? And occasionally she puts in pro-Chinese things all up in her tweets. You understand? Now the thing is that it's so straightforward. And the thing is, oh my gosh, like the thing is that if you just build your institutions, right? You have your African institution that these people graduate from. You would make a world of difference on this planet. You would make a world of difference on this planet. Because see that Chinese girl, she's just doing Twitter. She's just whatever. Maybe got like 10,000 views now. She's kind of pretty. In a sort of way, right? She's kind of pretty, and she's just influential. China has a little bit of influence, a little more influence, just because they put this girl through a university. She don't even gotta be pro-Chinese. China has a little more influence just for taking in, but just for grooming an African mind. Now, what do you think happens when all of you, most of you, go into these Eurasian universities and graduating? Well, you don't think that this adds to the influence of the Eurasian world across the planet? Shit, I should sell you a bridge in Brooklyn. If you don't think that. So Revolutionary Major says we got to stop passing down nothing to our children. All African children are our children. We got to. We got to. That's the thing. It's like, we don't have, as I say, Boko Baset Nakiro, we do not have the educational institutions so that our people can so that we know that our people at least understand us. When you go to Wazungu schools, you come out at least understanding them, at least sympathizing with them. If I went to university in China, I would come out saying, you know what, I kind of understand the Chinese. I would have learned Chinese history. I would have had Chinese, instructors. I would have had, nice Chinese people. I probably would have had crushes on Chinese people. I probably would have watched some Chinese movies, some Chinese sitcoms. I would have just been immersed into the Chinese culture to the point where I'm just like, you know what, these people ain't that bad. I can't vouch against them entirely. You understand? There are exceptions. You understand? If I was in Iran, the same thing. A lot of these freaking, like, for a lot of these Muslims, they go to Mecca and they're like, you know what, this is a nice, harmonious situation. I mean, I was in the Brooklyn Museum. They have images of what it looked like from Mecca, and yeah, it looks like a very harmonious, peaceful ordeal. Looks like a lot of people around the planet go to this quote unquote holy site. I think they like spit at a wall. There's like a particular monument that they all spit at and throw stones at because it's negative. I don't know. I don't remember. And there's other stuff. But you see a bunch of people and you're like, oh, these people have piety. These people are devoted. And it's like, there's no colorism. There's no racism. Like, you go to that site and you will feel something. You understand? You understand? And so the whole trick of it is to get you to that site. It's a nice piece of propaganda. The whole trickery is to get you to that place. You understand? You come through the university and you're like, you know what? I want to go to, you come to America and you're like, I want to go to Times Square. I want to go, like, you go to Times Square and you're like, wow, these white people build massive things. Now, you go into the black neighborhood, you ain't going to say the same thing. You understand? Ain't no pristine, pretty buildings. Ain't no nice, clean streets and all that. No, it's some grimy, dirty. You're going to see that, but they're not going to tell you to go there. In fact, everything about the news media, the white man's popular media, is to tell you not to go to the black neighborhood. You understand? But of course, and here's the thing too, like, let's say you in the middle of the Midwest, right? Your impression of black folk is that they just spend a lot of damn money. They got money from somehow, because these rappers are just like, balling and all that. You figure they go in the strip. Like, you don't know how they really living. It's called propaganda, but you get immersed into that propaganda through the schools. Come on. It's common sense. It's obvious. But let's keep going. So the issue upon us cannot be misunderstood by those who are watching current events. To us, it is not a theory, to quote a distinguished Democrat, but a condition that confronts us. A condition big with hope and fear, a condition where cowards quail and brave men stand their ground, a condition demanding the highest courage, the greatest sacrifices, the noblest ambition to overcome and to set forever at rest the question of the African's right to the titles of manhood, self-respect, and honor. The man who will not fight, oh, this is so important right here. Listen to this. This is so important. This is us. The man who will not fight for the protection of his wife and children is a coward and deserves to be ill-treated. The man who takes his life in his hand and stands up for what he knows to be right will always command the respect of his enemy. And this is facts right here. I want to tell you this. There's a story inside of IT's revolution. I think I'll tell you about it later in the book, right? So later in the book, you're going to see some quotes from, I think it's Ayana Bello, right? So she's going to tell you about a battle that happened in IT. This is a real battle that happened in IT, okay? At some point, I think it's toward the end, right? Dessalines is like, he tells one of his generals, you got to put this flag up, right? At a certain time. And they're in the middle of a gunfire and gunshots or whatever, right? And finally, like, it's a whole gun field, but the time is coming up. So this general or this captain or whatever takes this flag or whatever and runs to the site where he has to put the flag up, right? The white people on the other side call a ceasefire. No, I think he puts up the flag, right? The white people on the other side call up a ceasefire. They stop. Then they send some white person to deliver like a laurels or whatever, like deliver some reward, like some gift to this guy and say, we give this to you for your bravery and your courage. And then they resume fighting and killing each other. Like I don't know if you even I don't even know if you process what I just said. In the middle of the fight, they said, look, you know what you just did was so brave, so manly, so courageous, that notwithstanding the fact that we're trying to kill each other, notwithstanding the fact that we're trying to enslave you, if the French won, they intended to kill everybody who was over 11 years old. Everybody who wasn't a child, they were planning on killing every freaking African who wasn't a child. But notwithstanding that, they said to themselves, look, we're going to stop shooting. And we're going to say, this right here is a man. He deserves our respect. You understand? This is the same thing that happened with, it's not as well a story, but that's what happened with Frederick Douglass. If you know the story of Frederick Douglass, I don't remember if this man is his father or not. But at some point he sent down south to be I guess beaten and harassed and abused by the what's he called, the overseer, right? So they just, they send you down south. If you like, I don't want to clean, I don't want to cook, I don't want to do none of this. You know what I'm saying? This ain't for me. I shouldn't be a slave. Whatever. They will beat you into submission. So at some point, and I think his father was there. I think his father was like a white man who was or somebody who suspected his father. I don't know, but his father was there, white guy, and eventually, him and the overseer are beating Frederick Douglass. And usually when you get beat, you kind of just get beat. But Frederick Douglass was like, no. And he fought the overseer, or it was his father, one of the two. But he fought these guys and then just walked off the plantation and they let him. Partly probably because it's one of his father, right? But also because it's like, that's what it means to be a man. And this is the thing that happens, like, people don't know about this about boys. And this is an unfortunate thing, right? And this is like the reality, like, I don't know if you guys hear my son in the background, but the reality is that a lot of times boys, if real boys, right? And I don't know if it's not a Western thing, but like real boys, and this is just the animal instinct. Boys will fight their fathers. Or will stop taking shit from their fathers. Like my son right now, he takes shit from me. I'm not gonna trip you. If I say, hey man, get out of here, man, he gets out. If I say, go in the whatever. If I tell him to do something, right? And sometimes he be telling me no, and I'm like, hey boy, you know what? I give him that. You know what I'm saying? All right. But anyway, this boy, eventually, he's gonna get to a point where he's just like, make me. You know what I'm saying? And I just can't. I might just get a little too old to handle a boy. Because that's what my father. My father one time when I was really younger, in fact, I think I challenged him to arm wrestling, and I beat him, and I was like 16 or maybe 13, I don't know. But it was kind of like, what the freak? Why I'm beating this old man in arm wrestling? But anyway, but then after that, it was just like, at one point he was telling me to clean up something. I was like, nah, I ain't gonna clean that. You know what I mean? And then he started he kind of did he don't never really hit me when I was younger. But he was like, let me kick this guy and show him who's the man. And I was like, whoa, I dare you to do that again. Yeah, you're gonna do that again. And that was it. Some people don't want to hear that. They like, cause I know some people don't, they don't. But that's what boys do. Boys are just like you ain't gonna control us with force after a while. And again, like I said, with Frederick Douglass, it might be because it was his father that he was able to walk away. But a lot of times, it's something about us. And the reason why I say boys, not to say that girls don't do this, but of course I don't think anybody hitting girls, so I hope nobody's hitting a girl. But the thing is, or like not trying to control women with force, that's not what people should do anyway. But the reason why I say this about boys is that there was this, it's like even in the animal kingdom, you could live with a bear, like a bear cub, to a certain point, but at some point it becomes a boy. Like it becomes a teenager in a sense, as far as, teenage years can be for these bears, right? It becomes Because when I say teenager, I mean like your hormones begin changing, right? And you just suddenly, and like your body begins growing, and you suddenly start testing the limits of your body. That bear will kill you. That bear will kill you. When it's a cub, you can wrestle it up to a certain point. When it becomes a teenager, an adult, let that bear go, because that bear will kill you. Okay? It will kill you. This is just a natural thing. Even I'm not saying that, I'm not saying my son's gonna go and kill me at some point. I mean, I don't know, but hopefully not, right? But the reality is that that's something that you expect of boys. This is just a natural thing, and people respect that. Like even after having my little brother, matter of fact, my little brother, I used to be like, yo, get out, blah, 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 blah. This boy come out, one point, like, for instance, when I was younger, he like pulled out some, I still got the scar, in fact, but he pulls out some, like, it's like a ninja weapon, because my brothers were in martial arts, so they had like this sai, it's like a ninja weapon, it's like a fork. If you guys watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever, there's like, one of these weapons is like a whole pitchfork kind of thing, it's like a handheld pitchfork. Anyway, so yeah, he pulls that out on me, and he's like a young boy. I'm like 16, he's like 12, I don't know. So I'm like, I don't give a shit. What are you going to do with that? You're probably never going to hit me. And of course, he does stab me in the face. But I then, subdue him pretty quickly, right? Later on, though, when we're older, he's like 20-something, and I'm like 20-something. This guy pulls out some knife. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, don't worry. Do whatever you want to do, man. Like, it's a long-ass blade. And he's like, he's a capable boy. He's a capable man now. And it's just like, yeah, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're a man now. You know what I'm saying? It ain't even that serious. You know what I mean? Like when he was a boy, it was like, I don't give a shit what you pull out. You know what I'm saying? Like I could subdue you, notwithstanding. You're just a little boy. But when he was a man, it was like, okay. But that's something that people do. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. It sounds bad. You're like, wait, this guy pulled out a whole blade on you? Yeah, sounds bad, but it's something that, like, the guys, like, the women might hear this and be like, wait a second. That's what boys be up to? Nah, but the guys, they understand. They're like, yeah. All right. Submission to the dicta of Southern bulldozers is the basest cowardice, and there's no just reason why manly men of any race should allow themselves to be continually outraged and oppressed by their equals before the law, without giving the fullest credence to the many published statements with which appeared from time to time touching race conflict at the South. So, let me just check the conversation. Revolutionary Nation says they respect the show of power. This is why they are studying males in Kenya that have masculine traits. They know that we'll bow down to the show of power if black men show power. Exactly. Bitter Medicine Podcast is out here. So shout out to Bitter Medicine Podcast. He had this nice shoot the breeze yesterday. So that was always fun. Yeah, exactly. But Revolution Ranger says they respect the show of power. Studying males. Yeah, they know that, like, if we just stand up, if we just stood up. But the thing is this: the standing up part is going to take a minute. It's going to take a while, because this is something that we have to understand. And actually, Bitter Medicine Podcast touched on this yesterday in the Shoot the Breeze, because I asked the question about the the boy wearing a dress or whatever, right? But a lot of African people, like I said, we wear these masks in order to not seem like a threat. You understand what I'm saying? Because this is the thing too. It's like a lot of us know, for instance, that we got this white voice. Like every black person knows about what a white voice is. You understand? Even the way how we dress. Like if you're trying to advance in this world, right? You decide to not dress like the urban African. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to advance, you make a conscious decision to not dress like, you not have a do-rag. You're not a do-rag. You don't got no loose. All right, but back in the day when I was a kid, it was like loose jeans, a loose shirt. You kind of wear something fitted and quote unquote proper. You might cut your hair, you might whatever. But the thing is that you're going to try to look a certain way, and that way, quote unquote, is professional. Just like that voice you're doing, the white voice you have is quote unquote professional. And that's not to say that white folk don't do the same thing. White folk also, mask their voice to sound more quote unquote professional. I don't know, maybe possibly. I'm not too sure, but that professionalism, that outfit that they wear, that dress that they wear, that's all European. And for the same thing for you, it's all European. And at the core of it is, and at part of it is, you do not want to be associated with that aggression, because you know what they do for aggression. You know what I'm saying? And sisters have this issue where they're like, hey, if I even say something, people are gonna say that I'm a bit, whatever. They're gonna use the B word at me, right? They're gonna say I'm angry if I even if I say blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah. So then the sisters would try to behave a certain way, so that they're not angry, so that they're not a certain way. But that's the thing. It's like they want you to be docile. They want you to be cowardice. They want you to know. They want you to be weak in front of them, to be meek in front of them. You can't be full and proud. And sometimes but sometimes when like when I said full and proud, you might have the idea of that sister with her big afro and she's gorgeous and she's beautiful. Yeah. They like that. They like that, sure. Kind of. To a degree. And you know this. So let's just, so he says, and this is what I'm saying, equal before the law. Like, you're not really equal. Like, you're equal before the law, but who interprets the law? You know what I'm saying? So he says, I venture to say that if there are half as bad as reported, right? If the crimes against African people, the published statements against African people are half as bad as reported, then the Africans display a woeful lack of manhood in not resenting with force and emphasis the assaults of the hordes of ignorant and presumptuous white ruffians whose acts of lawlessness and brutality are disgracing our civilization. So this is actually pretty interesting. I want to say this right here. So submission to the dicta of Southern bulldozers at the basis cowardice, and there's no reason why many men of any race should allow themselves to be continually outraged and oppressed by their equals before the law without giving the fullest credence to their many published statements. I was having a conversation with somebody about what's going on in Africa, right? Particularly Nigeria. And they were like, what should we do when we are basically right here, this the same thing right here, when there are ruffians, now these are black ruffians in Africa, ignorant and presumptuous black ruffians whose acts of lawlessness and brutality are disgracing the civilization. What should you do? And she's saying this. He's saying, look, if this is half as bad as it's reported, then the Africans are displaying a woeful lack of manhood in not resenting with force and emphasis the assaults against them. The reality is this, that if there are issues on the continent, what John Bruce is saying is that you would want to fight. You'd want to fight. But of course, when it comes to fighting, you also, I would just stress that you do not want to just war for war's sake. Go back to what I said in the exposition. You do not just want to war for war's sake. You want to war and build something up. Not to quote this white boy, but it's one of those white boy that I do quote, which is St. Augustine. He says, he calls himself Saint, but Augustine. Dude goes, and then he might not even be white. I don't know, to be honest. But he goes, there may be war without peace. But there may be peace without war, but there cannot be war without some kind of peace. You understand? There may be peace without war. You can't have peace without war, but there cannot be war without some kind of peace. The idea is that if you are going to fight, right? If you're going to go to war, something in your mind possesses you of what peace entails. And the issue with African people on this continent or on this planet right now is that what that peace entails isn't necessarily all that different from what it was before. The conversation that I was having was about Nigeria. And so in Nigeria has, it's 4 republics in Nigeria already, okay? Constantly being overthrown by somebody who says, I could do this better. I could do this better than the last person. So Buhari, the current president, in fact, was once upon, 1980s, he was somebody who said, I could do this better than the person before me. Then 2 years later, he's overthrown by somebody who says, I could do better than the person before me. And that person might have been, horrible or whatever. But the point is that your preparation for what is better is going to come from your readership. Okay? Your leadership comes from your readership. If you are, reading the Quran or something, right? You're going to be pretty good at being a damn servant of Mecca. If you're reading the Bible, you're going to be pretty damn good at being a servant of Italy. You understand? You're pretty damn good, right? If not Italy, then, whatever. I don't care, right? The point is, you're going to be pretty damn good at something that's not important, right? If you're reading even if you're reading the Old Ife or whatever, even if you're reading that, it might be good to a certain point. But again, you have to understand that what we are looking to build and do is build as Garvey might say, a scientific community par excellence. You understand? A technological, a strategic, and organized community par excellence. And that's going to take quite a bit more than what we tend to have. And so this is why you have to step forward. You have to get the books. Okay? You have to get the books that are listed in the back of this book, right? Including this book. But you want to get those books, and we want to really sit down and think to ourselves, well, how can we as a group truly advance our people towards that future that's going to be able to defend us? Because the reality is this: if you return to any of these systems that were on Africa, right? The reality is that all of these systems are already on Africa, and all of them failed us. So we need something new. Or the only ones that didn't fail us, you could say is Kennesu, right? Or you could say is Kemet too. Didn't fail us. But at least we could examine what went wrong. And this is what it comes to when we're as a human species. We have the ability to look back at our past, emulate what we did, and try to reject what we didn't do right. And that's what it really comes down to. So I hope you all say to yourselves, you know what? I'm going to get these books for my people. If you're going to start with one book, start with the Book of Power, obviously. I mean, I would say if you're going to get two books, get the Pro-Black Compendium first, then get the Book of Power, right? If you're going to get three books, obviously get Zubiri, Pro-Black Compendium, Book of Power. If you want to get the three best books, then I would say Book of Power, Ptah Htp, and Marcus Garvey's Message to the People. Those are three fundamental books. So if you're going to get 5 books, get my 3, get the 2 other ones, Ptah Htp and Marcus Garvey. Get those 5 books, read those. Now, of course, the list is going to be 12 books or 13 books. So just in case you want to know more about, like, Tony Martin's Race First is in there. African Philosophy by Theophile Obenga, that's another one. This one's a good one. What's Drusilla Dungy Houston's The Wonderful Empire, Wonderful Kushite Empires of the Ethiopian Empire, something like that, or the Cushitic Empire, Wonderful Ethiopians of the Cushitic Empire. That book right there is going to tell you how immaculate, how splendid ancient African civilizations were. And these are going to be the African civilizations that were in Asia, in a sense. So like in Western Asia, so like the Sumerian and all that kind of stuff. She's going to they're going to examine those things. That's really critical. Because, the massive scale of architecture, the treatment of their people, this is something that we want to go back to. What we don't understand, and what's something that you probably are not getting, not grasping. It's not clear to you yet. But what you're not understanding is that the people who built America studied the ancient civilizations of the world. You understand? In fact, when America first tried to develop the Articles of Confederation, then it developed what they have today, right? I know I said we, my bad. But then they did what they have today. The thing is this, that if you look like a lot of what is about what the West is about studying from truly the ancient African past, but studying from what the older civilizations did and trying to do that in a way that suits them. And this is something that we have to say to ourselves too. Can we do it? And of course we can. Anything this white boy can do, we can do better. But if nothing else, that's all I could say about that. So Alma Boatman says Augustine was North African. Yeah. So I that's the thing. That's why I said I don't know if he's white or not, because you could be in North Africa and be white. You know what I mean? Or you could be like you could be in the United States of America and be black. You know what I mean? So I don't know what his ethnic composition was. I don't know if he was an indigenous person of thing. And then even if he were, what would that constitute? Let's say he's a Berber. What would that mean as far as like what kind of Berber? You know what I mean? So it's just I don't know. I can't say one way or the other what he was. But regardless, I thank everybody for their time. Thank you for joining. Of course, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I'm on. If you don't have the Book of Power, we already got to page 139, but there's a lot that I haven't covered. So make sure you come read forward, all that kind of stuff. If you don't have any other books, if you're interested in anything, if you're not in the Discord, please join the Discord. It's just nice to have more people in a conversation that goes on throughout the week. And of course I have my own Twitter and I have my own website and all that stuff. So just look it up in the information below. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And also, I want to say I didn't have the chance, like in the last podcast, we talked about African economies and all that kind of stuff. Oh, by the way, make sure you guys check out Bitter Medicine Podcast. Of course, Queen's Council and Harsh Reality Podcast. Make sure you check out all those podcasts. But yesterday, Bitter Medicine Podcast answered my question pretty well about the barter system and all that kind of stuff. So that, and everybody else was in there, like Revolutionary Matron was there giving some good insight as well. So make sure you guys check out that discussion, because it was just it was a refreshing discussion. But I want to say that like Zubiri was the other book I had, and it has its own little economic thing, and I didn't get to talk about that last week. But make sure you guys check out that and all that kind of jazz. But otherwise, thank you so much. Melanin 100% says thank you. Karibu is how they say you're welcome in Swahili. So karibu sana. Otherwise, thank you everybody for joining me. Revolutionary Matron. I'm a bookman. Melanin 100%, and of course Bitter Medicine Podcast. Shem Hotep, Anku Ja, Seneb Neb, Amen, Ma'at, Dua Netra.